What's up, everybody? Matt Outdoorsman here. Let's talk China. All right. We all see these objects and these surveillance aircraft, balloons, whatever you want to call it, getting shot out of the sky in the recent days. So what the hell are these assholes up to? All right. In my opinion, might not be the popular opinion, but I think it's a distraction. And why do I say it could be a distraction? Well, for a number of reasons, I think that they just, they're testing us. They're rattling our cage. They certainly are rattling our cage, right? But the big question is that what is going to cause a war between the U.S. and China? Is that what China wants? Your guess is as good as mine. All right. But what would it take for China and the U.S. to engage in a war? And if that happens, guys, a war with China would be considered probably the greatest war of our lifetime of recent history. Okay, in my opinion. I mean, these are two superpowers here that are going to be going head to head. Something that most people alive today haven't experienced. All right. So again, the question remains, what would it take? Is it going to take spy balloons, UFOs, whatever you want to call it, getting shot out of the sky because they're sending them over? Yeah, I mean, it's no good that we allowed one surveillance balloon to fly over half of the continental U.S. and surveil multiple military bases and strategic sites such as nuclear missile silos, right? I mean, I don't understand why that was allowed or whatever, but I mean, it happened. It got dealt with in the way it got dealt with, and it is what it is. I mean, that's all I can say about it. I adamantly feel that if the U.S. and China go to war with each other, it's going to be because China invades Taiwan, okay? And people really need to pay attention to that, all right? And a lot of people are probably sitting there wondering, well, why would the U.S. go to war or defend Taiwan if China decided to invade them? What is Taiwan? So let's talk about Taiwan for a second, and what they are. They're a democratic nation. Basically, they were formed into a democratic nation back in, I think it was 1949, after Chinese nationalists engaged in a civil war against mainland China. And they ended up actually losing that civil war. And so what they did was those nationalists fled to Taiwan and formed their own democratic nation. So it's an island country that's right there in the South China Sea, right off of mainland China. All right. And China, on the other hand, considers Taiwan a part of their territory, a part of the mainland. And this is why President Jinping is so freaking hell-bent on taking Taiwan back, because he wants to reunify China with Taiwan. Why is that important to us? Well, number one, like I already said, Taiwan is a democratic nation, and they are the last non-communist stronghold in that region of the world, guys. All right. Not to mention that the Taiwan Strait is of strategic importance to Washington, D.C. There's a lot of maritime trade that occurs over there. Taiwan does have a robust economy. They're into the semiconductor business. That's a $115 billion industry over there. So that's of significant importance. So China invades Taiwan, let's say. We get involved. People saying, oh, no, we won't get involved. Well, I mean, if you go back to one of the very first interviews that, I think it was the first interview that air quote President Biden had on, I think it was 60 Minutes, he did say, it's his words, guys, that if China invades Taiwan, that U.S. soldiers will be involved. U.S. forces will get involved to defend that island nation. You know, and if that happens, if we go to war with our biggest trading partner, okay, who arguably has a stranglehold over us, economically speaking, I mean, how many thousands upon thousands of goods do we purchase that are Chinese made? I mean, think about it, guys. We purchase, as Americans, we purchase more Chinese goods that are made in China than we do in our own country here, all right, which is sad. You know, this is what we've come to, all right? And China knows that, you know, and if we go to war against China, guess what happens? All that shit gets shut off, dude. It all gets shut off, all right? And that's just the goods, you know? Let's talk about the medicines that come out of China, all right? I read it was 95% of the ingredients that make the pain med ibuprofen, you know, a simple over-the-counter med that pretty much everybody has. 95% of those ingredients are made in China, all right? Penicillin, I'm going to chop this word to shit. Acetaminophen, I think it's called. Acetaminophen. You know what I'm talking about. I think that was 70%. All right. And countless other meds that are manufactured over there, all shut off if we go to war with China. All right. And that's the ramifications and repercussions. All right. And that's why a war with China would be a bad fucking idea. But it's looking like we're heading in that direction. All right. I mean, we had a 4-star Air Force general. Okay. He came on and made a statement publicly that said that he sees the U.S. and China at war by the year 2025. Okay. He pretty much put everybody under his command, which is over 100,000 military personnel, on notice to that, you know. So, I mean, we got these top military commanders that are saying it. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine on it. I just know that if we do end up fighting a war against China, it will be the greatest war that we will see in our lifetimes, you know. That's for sure. Outside of World War II, obviously. But so there's that, you know. So what's China doing? What are they waiting for? I think they're looking at Russia and Ukraine right now. You know, why do I say that? Well, Russia, guys, is one of China's biggest allies. I think, if not their biggest ally, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they're just waiting to see what Russia's next play is. And if you're looking at the news, the same news that I'm looking at, Russia is mobilizing close to 500,000 troops right now. And they're getting ready for a springtime offensive. So we're gonna see what happens in the springtime with that. And I think once this offensive happens, that is pretty much appears to be so, happens in the springtime, I think, in my opinion, that China's going to make that move on Taiwan. And yeah, they will have an overwhelming military presence there, you know. And I think that's what's going to end up drawing us into a fight with China, in my opinion. Meanwhile, in China, they're mobilizing pretty much all their troops. They're moving a lot of military equipment around. I think there's going to be a law going into effect in the coming weeks where anybody 18 years or older that lives in China are going to be mandated for military service and required, you know, to be in the Chinese army, right? And they will be mobilizing. So yeah, I mean, with all that said, guys, you really got to think about the repercussions, or the ramifications, I should say, of what that would look like for us if we did go to war against China. You know, they got us, I'm just going to say it, no filter, they got us by our fucking balls, guys, you know, with just by the economy alone. You know, a lot of shit will get shut off, and that will cause massive shortages. You know, it'll put our economy in utter chaos, guys. And China knows this, okay? And, you know, you ask, we go back to the spy balloons, okay? And why they have the audacity to fly these fucking things over our country and surveil what they surveilled, spy on all these military sites that they did, you know, because they know they can. You know, they pretty much own us, you know, and I mentioned this in my last video that I made specifically about the spy balloon, you know, and since then, I think it's in the past 2 days, there's been more objects shot down by U.S. warplanes that are entering our territorial waters and on a path to entering our airspace over the continental U.S. So with all that said, you know, something's brewing, and I really believe shit's gonna fucking pop off at some point, sooner rather than later. And I believe it's gonna get real fucking ugly. All right, and it's something to prepare for, because like I said, there will be massive shortages. You know, and this might sound like doom and gloom and all that crazy shit, but this is stuff that's actually happening, and the ramifications that I am illustrating here are very legit and real. All right, you can't argue it, you know. So there you have it, guys. Those are my thoughts on what a war against China would be like, and what the repercussions of that would be. And yeah, it would result us end up being in a bad way. So it remains to be seen. All right, guys. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have on this topic for tonight. Appreciate you watching. Leave your comments, leave your feedback in the comment section. And I'm looking forward to what your thoughts on this will be. All right. Anyway, Mad Outdoorsman, thanks for watching, folks.